Alabama returns to Bryant-Denny Stadium on a collision course for a 10-win season, but can Mercer do the improbable and send them packing with an L in front of the hometown crowd? Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson, breaking down everything that we will see at Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday as the Mercer Bears take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Real quickly, make sure that you like the video, hit that ring notification down below, and smash the subscribe button because this is your #1 source for all things SEC moving forward. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered. Follow Dave at Mock 10 Sports, me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. This preview is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks, the official sponsor of the SEC Unfiltered Tour. Go to PrizePicks.com and use the promo code SECU at signup to get a $50 instant play when you deliver your first $5 lineup. And guys, this is not like betting when it comes to lines. This is picking your favorite players to do damage on Saturdays. And it's not just college football. It's also college basketball. We're in the middle of hoop season, so why not go ahead and get involved? PrizePicks.com, use that promo code SECU. Get a $50 instant play when you sign up with your first $5 lineup. Dave, as much as I want to say that Alabama will run the table in this matchup, and they probably will, we both know the answer to this. Got to give Mercer a lot of credit. They're coming in at 9-1. Their only losses to Samford. They have decimated opponents, whether it be Bethune-Cookman, Chattanooga, Western Carolina, ETSU, VMI. They've been able to show you a little bit more gusto. But again, it's an FCS school. They signed the dotted line for a check worth over $250,000 to kind of help a team like Alabama get back to its collision style and not avoid themselves getting into a really rocky situation before the last two games on the road. The last game on the road against Oklahoma before returning for the Iron Bowl later on this month.
Yeah, traditionally a weird spot after the LSU game for Alabama too. I think not since I've been a kid. I mean, the schedules have changed so much, but for a long time is where the Mississippi State game was after the LSU game. It was always a pretty sloppy game. Again, for both Alabama and LSU coming off those games were always emotional, physical games that they didn't really play. They'd win. Well, LSU would lose some, but Alabama would usually win, but it was always a little sloppy. You could tell against Mississippi State last year was against Kentucky. They pushed this week up a little bit. It's usually the second to last week. The week before Thanksgiving, they would have these FCS matchups. So now with Oklahoma and Texas coming in, obviously Alabama has Oklahoma next week. Again, we talk about Mercer, 9-1 coming into this matchup, only lost to another state Alabama team in Samford, 55-35 overall. Mike Jacobs, head coach, they do a phenomenal job over there. I'd say his name's being tossed around for the Southern Miss job with Derek Nix, the OC at Auburn. So they've done a good job. They're getting their name recognition out there. But I'll be honest here, Cole. I mean, it's SEC Unfiltered. We call it how it is. These are the kind of games people are kind of tired of seeing because you see a press conference with Mike Jacobs going in. He's like, we're not even going to use our helmet communication. We're not even going to use our communication. It's just too expensive for us. We're not going to use it. Now, that doesn't mean Alabama can't use theirs because they didn't randomly go out. So Alabama will still get to use their helmet communication. But this game you saw it with UT Chattanooga a couple years ago. They didn't even play their starters. And I think Mercer maybe for a little bit will, but Mercer's in a championship contention. And they're not dumb. They know they're not going to come in and win this game. So why risk injury and potentially lose a potential championship that you have that you could actually go win and just, like you said, just go collect your check. It is what it is. This is why people like Nick Saban, myself, I'm sure you feel the same way. You just kind of get a little tired of these games. Mercer, again, people are going to write them off, but it is a good football team. 9-1. I haven't watched them. I've seen a little highlights when prepping for this one, but nothing big. Mike Jacobs, I do know, does a good job. And I expect to see, this is a big, from an Alabama perspective, Cole, I expect to see Ty Simpson, Austin Mack. It's kind of the things you kind of looking forward to, the backup quarterbacks for Alabama and some of the other reserves.
You're definitely going to see a little bit of Jalen Milroe, Justice Haynes, Jam Miller, but this should be a second half where the backups, where guys who are part of your long-term future are going to get those meaningful reps at the time. I will say they do have a guy in TJ Moore that has 6 interceptions on the year. So if he does play in the second half, maybe an Austin Mack, maybe you get into a situation where he's throwing on the run, lands right in the hand in the breadbasket of Moore, and he takes it back for an easy score. I agree with you on one thing. If we're going to start to have these conversations about what is the right number of teams to go to the college football playoff from each conference, you either have to add in another conference game or you have to make it a more significant matchup to where you can justify and justifiably say This is why we want 6 teams in. Because when you say Mercer's on the schedule and Eastern Tennessee is on the schedule and the Citadel is on the schedule, nobody's going to care. Nobody is going to look at you and say that that is a good enough performance with 2 losses to put you in as the 11th seed. Even if we agree that Alabama, South Carolina, Mizzou, Auburn, for that instance, they're all good teams in the year that they dominate, but this is not a win that you have to use. But with that being said, we don't need to be living in the world of what could be, what is to come. We got to live in the world right now. Alabama dominated LSU out in Death Valley. It was a 4-quarter performance of just pure, unadulterated chaos. And more importantly, I think that we saw the defense finally get back to what we envisioned when Kane Womack was hired. They nearly went 8 quarters against a pair of Tiger teams, not allowing a touchdown. With less than 2 minutes on the clock, they finally let somebody in. And then you hear Brian Kelly post-game talk about how, well, at least our kids didn't quit. At least our team did. It's like, yeah, they didn't quit, but at the same time, Alabama took away opportunity after opportunity after opportunity for you to score and get right back in this thing. And that's a big deal, I think, moving forward, because this is a game where you don't have to worry about the defense, but it is a moment to where you say Alabama's defense has delivered. How can they look on the road against an Oklahoma squad? How can they look at home against an Auburn squad to guarantee 10-2, guarantee their spot in the college football playoff? And then what does this defense look like when it shows up potentially on the road in, say, Happy Valley, on the road and potentially Bloomington, Indiana, on the road in South Bend, Indiana, if they were to take on one of those teams in the first round? I think that I came away from that matchup knowing that Alabama has a much more stable defense, and they could get healthier. Keon Sabb, depending on his status for the postseason, that's going to be really critical for the secondary as well.
Yeah, and I think Bray Hubbard's played pretty well coming in for Sabb as a young guy. So I think this is more of a depth game. This is a game guys like Kane Womack, Maurice Lindquist, guys like Christian Robinson, C-Rob, and them are going to try to – you want to get some backups in here to put on film to see who you can trust, because we've seen it with Alabama. Look, the defense is improved. It's good. It's good to solid at this point. Played phenomenal the other night against LSU. Still have some question marks to this team from an ultimate standpoint of winning a national title, which we know is the expectation. I still have some question marks there. This is a depth game where you need to get guys as many snaps as possible to see who can get it. This is a Quay Russaw game. We saw him get hurt against Wisconsin, but now with Q Robinson out for the season with an upper body injury, guys like Quay Russaw are going to have to step up if Alabama's ultimately going to have to reach their ultimate goal. King Mack, a guy in the secondary coming over from Penn State, he's another guy that's probably going to play a lot in this game. Xavier Mincy, a young cat and a true freshman, he's going to get a shot to probably play. Deshaun Jones, I thought came in the Wake Forest transfer, played well the other night against LSU. He's another guy that's probably going to get some reps. Red Morgan, potentially. Jalen Mbakwe already plays, but he's going to play even more. This is a game you get the reserves reps to get on tape to see who you can trust later in the year. Because, again, the season's longer than ever, inevitably. And Alabama's in a pretty good spot. If they finish 10-2, win this week, beat Oklahoma, beat Auburn, there's a real shot. They're finished 10-2. They're probably playing the winner, as long as there's no upsets, of Texas A&M, and Atlanta. Alabama has the tiebreakers over every team except Tennessee with that head-to-head loss. So I think Alabama's in good line to go play in Atlanta for the SEC Championship and go potentially play 4 games in the college football playoff. It's a longer season. You need more depth. You need to find out who you can trust. This is that kind of game, and same with the offensive line, dude. You're going to have injuries.
Now, hold up. Now, if Alabama is sitting at 10-2 and Tennessee and Texas are both sitting at 11-1, moot point there. We know who's going to Atlanta, and it's going to be a battle of UT versus UT for the rights to call themselves UT.
Yeah, if Tennessee, I'm saying it, but the way Vegas would have it, who's favored right now, yeah, Alabama said real nice. You're right. If Tennessee goes 11-1 and Texas goes 11-1, or shoot, even if A&M wins that game, they're 10-2 with only 1 conference loss. You're right. Tennessee would be Tennessee versus the winner of that game. But from what the odds are saying, I mean, you'd probably say Alabama's in that driver's seat of – probably driver's seat's the wrong way, but odds are they would get in unless Tennessee beats Georgia, which is definitely possible.
Dave, wasn't it kind of funny that less than about a month ago we were talking about Kalen DeBoer being in over his head, and now all he has to do is just win his final 3 games, and there's a legit shot that they're right back in Atlanta?
I don't think we were saying that. I think
none of us were, but just the memos around the country were.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was fair to say, yeah, there obviously was a disappointing start, but it's like people were saying back then, it was like, all right, change. I don't think Alabama would do this now because of the quality win, but like, all right, going into the bye week, let's say you are going to the Missouri game, your 2 losses were Georgia and Tennessee. I mean, that's what I had them at that point in the season. It's just the Vanderbilt loss and the way he looked against Tennessee rubbed the wrong way, which is fair. That was fair. It was not good. But I think we both agree Alabama would much rather have the Georgia win right now than the Vanderbilt win because it obviously improves your resume.
Looking at the wide receiver core for this game, again, you're going to see Ryan Williams play. You're going to see Jeremy Bernard play probably in the first half. But then you get to see what the depth looks like past this year. And one thing that we got to talk about when it comes to Alabama is it still is Alabama. That script day carries a lot of weight on recruiting. That script day carries a lot of weight on players that want to just be a part of the program down in Titletown. They get to find out, what do we need to establish this offseason? Do we have young guys potentially inside the locker room? Guys such as Caleb Odom, guys such as there's a couple other guys that I'm blanking off the top of my head.
Can they Henderson, Kobe Prentice, and them?
Can they be a part of the long-term solution here, or do we have to go out and add in a transfer portal player? Do we have to go out and bring in a 5-star plus wide receiver that can start right away opposite of Ryan Williams? It'll be interesting. And will be really interesting as well as to see what does the quarterback dynamic look like next year between Austin Mack and Ty Simpson. Because Alabama is going to lose Jalen Milroe. He's going to go to the pros. We know that he is going to have his final swan song coming up this upcoming in a couple of weeks when they face off against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. But when you look at this organization, the fact that they have 2 quarterbacks, one that is committed to Alabama, but another one that's committed to Kalen DeBoer, because Austin Mack came on over from Washington. It's going to be a really interesting litmus test to see who maybe has the upper hand and the advantage of taking over as QB1 next offseason.
No, I totally agree. That will be interesting as well because, I mean, I've seen a lot of people think Milroe will potentially go in the portal, which, I mean, if Alabama finishes strong, I don't think they would push him out by any means. But you're right, NFL draft stock, he's got a lot of big games to be able to change that mind. Hell, a lot of these quarterbacks do with the college football playoff coming up. But you're right. I mean, it will be interesting. Do you see Ty Simpson, who everybody you hear from talking to the program over there loves him in practice? He's improved a lot. They feel like he fits that system really well. Obviously, didn't bring the athleticism and dynamic of Jalen Milroe, but still an underrated athlete. Again, he was the #1 player in the state of Tennessee his senior year in high school. And then Austin Mack, who was a Washington guy. It's kind of their guy. They handpicked him, big kid. I think struggled a little bit in the spring and in fall camp. But again, like you said, here's his shot to go have a successful day against a pretty solid team. I mean, it is if you're just calling it not a scrimmage. I hate to say that. But, like, from that standpoint, them getting in, it's not like you're just playing against Tuscaloosa Central over here.
Dave, when you and I do previews, we always talk about one player to watch for. We're not going to do Mercer. We're not going to act like that we have paid enough attention to Mercer to go into full detail on why this could be a great game. But we are going to go with Alabama. I'll go first. I've already mentioned it. The wide receivers are going to be really interesting to me moving forward because of you potentially are losing Jeremy Bernard. You potentially are going to lose Kendrick Law. You are going to lose some other players to the portal. I wonder what Cole Adams is going to look like. This is the slot receiver that's filled on in at times inside, number 7.
He's out for the year, I think, isn't he, Bear? I think they announced that last week.
Is he out for the year?
Yeah, he's out. Return man Cole Adams out for the year. He announced that.
Thank you for stopping me right before I started to say something stupid. So I appreciate it. All right, let's just go with then Kobe Prentice in this one. Want to see a wide receiver step on up outside of just the top 2 and Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams. Same thing with CJ Dupree. Again, it's tight end. I know what he's going to provide in the short yard gain. Not Cole Adams going to be playing. I guess I'm stupid. There we go. Thank you for catching me.
No, I think you're right at the position though, Cole, for sure. I think you're right. I feel like for them to ultimately reach we talked about it on the live show last night, Cole, and I think me and you agree on the number of teams who could actually win the national championship. And we both know, we both want to, the expectation is to win the national title. So that's what you kind of got to get your roster ready for. You're right. I think they need another guy to step up at the receiver spot outside of Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams for them to ultimately win. I'm going to win the national championship. I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball, Cole, because that injury for Q Robinson's concerning me a little bit long term. Again, I don't expect this kid to go have like a game-changing performance really overall. I'm going to go Yonze Pierre, though, the Eufaula native, Courtney Upshaw country. I remember we were his first offer when I was at UCF. Again, do I expect big, just overall, like big numbers from the redshirt freshman? No, but I think he could be a depth piece guy, can play some key snaps because Quay Russol's rising up to that perspective. Now he's got to go take over for Q Robinson. They need some more depth. So I think Yonze Pierre, a guy who they do like at 6'3", 239, is a freaky looking dude. Could scratch his ankle standing up, how long he is. But I'm looking to see him. I think he's going to get a lot of run this weekend, and I think they're looking to see, like, hey, man, can we trust you in some of these bigger games down the line, even against Oklahoma and Auburn here down the stretch for us to go get in the college football playoff?
Dave, let's lock in some predictions. Kickoff at Bryant-Denny Stadium at 1 p.m. There's no line because of why would there be a line? I'll let you go first. Alabama probably wins this game, bearing complete and total implosion. But what's the final score and how do they capitalize?
I think you're right, Cole. It's tough to predict the score of this game because you're kind of like, I don't know what Kalen DeBoer and them's plan is going to be with Nick Sheridan. Like, who are we trying to get reps in here? I mean, I'm going to go something like what are they running with Ty Simpson and Austin Mack? I'm going to go something like, I don't know, 49-10. I don't know. I just don't think they'll run the score up on them, but I also don't think this is ever close. And I don't know what their internal game plan is. So I'll go something like 49. Let's make it 52-10 for the sake of it.
So let's go look back. In 2023, they played Chattanooga. It was 66-10. In 2022, they played Austin Peay. It was 34-0. In 2021, they took on, actually, it was Mercer again, and it was 48-14. So let's meet in the middle. Let's say they give up a touchdown. They give up a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Allow this to be enough for Mercer fans that traveled to see Tuscaloosa, taking the ambiance of what is the Black River, taking the ambiance of what is the campus, and be around that stadium and the atmosphere on game day. They allow them to get on the board. But again, this is an Alabama team that is just waiting to choose violence. They're going to make sure that they have their backups playing with the same vicinity. And at the same time, Dave, what I will say, I think this is going to be a game where you want to continue to put your foot on the gas. Because the last thing that you can afford to do is show any bit of complacency. And even if you do win and cover what would be a fake spread, it still is the matter of you got 2 more games left in conference play that you cannot afford to lose. And I don't think that either one of these games are losable, but what I do think is both of these games, depending on what Alabama looks like, how Alabama responds, especially on a road environment in Norman, that could be a little bit too close for comfort. So I agree with you. It's probably going to be in the 50s. I'm going to go 49 though, and I'll go 49-10 final score. Just Mercer scores a touchdown late in the fourth quarter, but Alabama, they're up like 42-0 going into halftime.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, and Mercer's been shown to give up some points where they're lost. They give up 55 points to Samford, 34 to Western Carolina, and then 31 to East Tennessee State. So, yeah, they've given up points. Again, they've only lost one game, though, to another Alabama team, like I mentioned earlier, in the Samford Bulldogs.
And the crazy part is that if backups are playing in this game, because if they're trying to rest people before they take on Furman to close out the year, it could get worse. But what do you think? Does Alabama decimate Mercer? Does Mercer pull off an incredible upset that we'll be talking about for centuries? Is this a game that's even worth bringing up in conversation outside of when we do the Sunday Funday show? Let us know in the comment section down below. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on all the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered. Follow Dave at Mock 10 Sports, me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. For Dave Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson. Alabama, Mercer. You know what? Just give us a game. I mean, I usually say give us a good game, but just give us a game where nobody gets hurt. Peace.